Welcome everyone to episode 17 of Tech Safe here in the cable station at Worcester, Massachusetts, WCCA TV. We are so grateful to our hosts here to give us this opportunity to share with you the biological risks of today's wireless technology, and most importantly, what we can do to mitigate those risks. I am the Director of Massachusetts for Safe Technology. My name is Cece Doucette, and twice a month we do 2 free public education webinars on Zoom that we welcome everybody to come along with us, and we will teach you the science. We will teach you the medical responses to this and what's happening in public policy and what's happening in the legal arena, because most don't know that the FCC, which should be regulating wireless radiation exposures, has been sued for ignoring 11,000 pages of evidence of harm. And the courts ordered our Federal Communications Commission to bring the science in line, or bring public policy in line with the science. And it's now been 2 years, and the FCC has not responded. So we're doing our part to educate the public, to provide resources for you to be able to go out and learn and then start making changes, if you choose to, in your own life and in your community. So we have been speaking for episode 16 and now episode 17 about utility smart meters. Those are the gas, water, electric, solar, propane meters that are often replaced on our homes and offices and schools and elsewhere. From a good, solid analog device that lasted 40 or 50 years with radio frequency transmitting smart meters or digital meters. And in episode 16, we had Mana Washio, who was a classically trained musician who got very sick from the smart meters mounted on her apartment. And today we are grateful to have with us a gentleman here in Massachusetts from the town of Templeton who also has had experience with these smart meters. So please allow me to introduce you to Steve Drury from Templeton. Thank you, Steve, for joining us.
You're welcome.
So share with us how you came to know that there was anything to even question about today's wireless technology.
Well, I used to go out with a lady that was a X-ray technician, and she had gone to college for low-level radiation waves, and she was quite enthused about having smart meters. And so we made a elementary discovery in the sense that asking questions and so forth. And at the time, there wasn't any issue. But around 2017, we ended up with a letter in the mail basically telling us that they were going to put smart meters on our house. And so we rushed off a letter to stop that from happening to us. It's kind of unique in the sense that it was about the time when town meeting was happening, so I had enough time to put a question on the ballot and to try to stop the whole town. And the fact of the matter is that the town didn't know what was going on, and we did generate about 7 people who decided to come along with us and stop meetings. After that happened, there was no opt-out program. So we pretty much, by doing what we did, they had to create an opt-out program. And then they decided to charge everybody $125 per meter. And of course, everybody else got a free meter. And of course, we didn't. And they came to our house and they exchanged the meter. And under the circumstances, the law says we can't intervene.
Wow. So first of all, good on you for getting others around you educated on this, because there is no cavalry coming. These industries get a way head start on us, and they come in and they share these incredible benefits with our towns. Like if you go to these digital meters, they will be able to take the readings electronically, and then you won't have to pay as a town to have walkers go through the neighborhood and get the readings. So it sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, well, it does. That's what they say, but they actually charge. I believe it was $3 and 49 cents or 78 cents or something to read the meter whether they come or not. Okay, but in our case, they said that they were going to give us a non-RF meter, and so they put the non-RF meter on. And of course, I asked for the manual, and of course, they wouldn't give me the manual. And so I had to look up the facts. And after they had charged us in their opt-out program $20 a month extra to come and read the meters. So we had put up cameras and we had started taking essence of them coming and when they were coming. And we kept asking for the manuals and they kept refusing or not even dealing with it and basically threatened to shut us off. I had to go back into the law and go to the Board of Health and basically introduce the fact that I'm disabled and that I can't shut off the electricity.
So how did that work out? Was your Board of Health able to intervene for you?
Yes, the Board of Health lady, after giving her the law, sent a letter off saying that, I have to have electricity for utensils and water and so forth, and they couldn't shut it off. But I didn't play that any more than that. And of course, that's a limited time. You have to keep reintroducing it. And they were waiting patiently to try to remove us from the program. And at the same time, they were sending lawyers out with letters and so forth to confront us and, and try to tell us to agree. And of course, we never would. We didn't agree. And
so they were trying to get you to agree to this smart meter, and they were using intimidation tactics.
They said to us that at any time we could trade to a meter that was like everyone else's for free. And of course, we didn't pay, and all the other people did pay. But since I was the initiator, I said, no, I'm not paying. I'm never paying. And what they ended up doing is I reminded them that the cost of after around 2020 was coming up to where I could do a civil suit. And they said they immediately went after me as to the tax title taking of my property, of our property over the meter. So I let that go all the way through its process and tried to bring it into the assessors board, telling them that they never certified the debt. And I had the instrument, my letter, that said that we wanted an analog meter. We didn't want anything else. And they actually introduced that letter as their response that we agreed. And I went, you must be brain dead, because it says right on it, we don't want this meter, we want an analog meter. And then they said, well, they don't make them. And I says, well, that's what we want. And,
yeah. And that's simply not true. I know a lot of our towns are told that, oh no, technology's moving forward, they don't make the analog meters. I actually called up one of the manufacturers one day and I said, is this true? And they said, of course not. We'll make whatever the customer wants. So our towns are the customer, but they're being given misinformation by these utility companies who want to keep pushing their new product, which brings a new revenue stream. Can I ask whose territory you're in? Who is your provider for your electrical out there?
It's a combination of Evergreen and...
Or Eversource?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eversource, as well as they're municipal, so there's Templeton Municipal Light and Water.
Okay. Yeah, I too, unfortunately, am in Eversource territory. And as of the last check I did, they do not offer an opt-out. National Grid is the other major provider here in Massachusetts. They do offer an opt-out, but it's a fee-based opt-out, as you described. You have to pay to get that analog meter, and then you have to pay a monthly tariff or surcharge to be able to use that piece of equipment to get the reading. And they say, well, we're going to have to send somebody to your house manually and take that reading, but that's simply not true either. During the pandemic, when we were not allowed to be in others' presence, there were offers for people who had these analog meters to just simply take a picture of it and send it in, and they would do your billing according to that. So there, we've got technology. Technology, in many respects, is fantastic, but it should not be at the expense of our health. And it's not just you and I. We know scientifically there are volumes of scientific studies that show this is very detrimental to the pollinators, to the birds, the bees, the trees. The entire biome runs off of electrical circuitries and currents. And when we overpower ourselves and our environment with all of this man-made electropollution, we can't expect to be a safe and healthy environment. And we're already seeing it in our society with these escalating rates of anxiety, depression, headaches, nosebleeds, nausea, insomnia. Steve, did you experience any of the symptoms that so many people do, or did you fight hard enough to keep it off of your home?
We're in line with the two next door neighbors where the waves come right through our house, okay? And there's not much we can do about that. Where our meter is on the far side of our house. So that's where that is. And I also want to say this to you too, because I thought it was interesting because they told me it was a non RF meter. And since they wouldn't give me the information, and then having discovered some other stuff, correspondence between the assessor's offices and so forth, it occurred to me that I needed to find a way to find out if it was a smart meter, because what they were doing was they would come and the reader would have 7 different readouts on the meter, and the guy would come and he would fill out whatever, and it was the manager who told us that those 7 documentations are very important to them and so forth. And so I had done lots of considerations with that, but I finally came to the point where I said, you can't come to my house anymore, even though they have a right to read the meter. And I said, you'll be trespassing if you don't give me notice when you're going to come. And I had established the fact that they come on the 3rd. And so as soon as I did that, they refused to come, and then it wouldn't come anymore. And then they said they were going to estimate my situation. So then I noticed that the bill for the guy coming disappeared. The $3.57 appeared. And more importantly, my bill fluctuated. In other words, my use of electricity was measured somehow. And ever since then, I've been asking them how they're doing that. Because, it's all lies. That's all they did was lie. John Driscoll is his name. And he lied to me face to face. He also said that I couldn't go to the municipal plant. I'd be trespassing because I brought up these issues. And of course, I'm the one who brought up it politically. So they had a real good reason to want to come out and shut me out, and shut me up. And of course, I've been collecting the data, and we probably are going to soon go after them for what they've done to us, because even with the tax taken situation and forcing us to pay for the meter through that process, that came up to bring up bonding. And I realized that I asked for their bonds, because they're all supposed to be bonded.
So then, I don't know what bonding means. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, the individuals are supposed to carry bonds in case they damage somebody. In other words, the manager is supposed to have a bond, and the treasury of the town is supposed to have a bond. And so I asked for these bonds, and then they forced me to go through the process of Public Information Act. Mm-hmm. And of course I did that. And then they told me, I have to pay money to get to the bonds. And then when they gave me the bonds, they were basically copies of them, like online, right? That they filled in, And so I researched the information. The notary was wrong. There was no stamp. The individuals that actually the name of the individual was like bent, like in other words, he's trying to tell me get bent, you know. And I went through the whole surface of seals. I went to the state asking the insurance companies if these individuals were able to write and the bottom line is they lied again. There's no bonding. And then they use the excuses. That's how we keep our profits or costs down. And I just smiled and said, yeah, right. So, the bottom line is that we have an agency that's out of control in Templeton. They don't get along with the administration. The administration's in fear of them, even though they're supposed to be basically in charge of them. And the administrative people don't understand this, and they don't understand what's going on. And I've tried to educate the Board of Health, but everyone is at risk with jobs. They would.
I think you've hit the nail. I think you've hit the nail on the head. There is that there are a lot of good public servants out there. There are some who aren't the best. But it does come down to follow the dollar, because if their jobs are on the line, oftentimes they won't stick their necks out there to do the right thing by the public. And we see this at all levels of governments. So it is a very difficult conversation to have. It sounds like you've got a lot of experience navigating through the systems. Most people wouldn't even know what questions to ask. So if somebody is living in a town where there's not even an opt-out, until we get a bill passed at the state level that would give people the right to opt out without being taxed a fee, how do you suggest people open this conversation in order to create a win-win for both the town and the citizen?
Depending on the situation, to the individual. That's the first thing. If you have health issues and so forth, you can put them forth between, Board of Health or administrative. I want to say that the answer to that is that the laws, okay, that affect the municipality are not the laws that affect the non-municipality places, okay? And that's an interesting place, really, because some of the laws do and some of them don't. So there is a right, okay, that a person has the right to know what's going on in your house, okay? And if you bring up issues like UL or places, it could be a liability issue, and and I want to quote on that, because when I brought those things up, they have a webpage of policies and liabilities, and it was 8 pages long or 12 pages long, and they brought it down to 3 pages. They basically ripped off all their liability after they put these out and put these on people's houses because of me. Because they did have liability at one time having to do with the meter. Now, if the meter explodes, it's all up on you.
Because it's on your property.
Yeah. And because they're making it so that you agree to it. That's basically, everything's an agreement, So if you disagree, like I did, and of course, they wouldn't give me an analog meter because they just didn't want to do it. They got a smart meter on my house. It's just a different brand. It's a Honeywell, and all the rest of them are AMI. And they tried to play with the words, in the definitions of that. And they've been completely uncooperative. And I really gave their lawyers a headache because, I wouldn't comply. And that was and they threatened me in every which way. If you're 10 minutes, why I went to the Board of Health to basically, they were assaulting me, intimidating me, and making me.
How did the conversation go with your Board of Health?
She was very cooperative after I gave her the law. In fact, I think I have the law here on my
Yeah,
desk.
if you can take a second and find out what that Mass General law is, I think others would benefit from knowing that. And while you're looking that up, I will share that, there are other boards of health who are really looking at this issue. Out in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, Verizon put a cell tower up illegally on top of a neighborhood. And 17 plus children and adults got so sick from the radiation that came off of 6 big antennas that they put up on that. And by the way, that tower is licensed for 48. When the first 6 went up, this whole neighborhood got so sick, headaches, nosebleeds, nausea, dizziness, anxiety, heart problems, skin problems, ringing in the ears. The pollinators all disappeared. And people who had had cancer in remission, their cancers came back. And so the town people, the citizens were talking to the town about this for a year and a half, and they wouldn't go away. So it's critically important that the citizens support one another and speak up together and be resolved that they're not going to drop this issue until it's fixed. When that happened in Pittsfield, finally the mayor and the city council told the Pittsfield Board of Health, you need to investigate this. And they did. And when they talked to the scientists, they talked to the doctors who had given diagnoses of electromagnetic illness. They talked to engineers. They listened to the industry, so-called expert. And then they came up with this groundbreaking emergency order telling Verizon, you have 7 days to please come to the table and tell us why we should not issue a cease and desist order. Well, Verizon didn't come to the table. Like you said, these guys have deep pockets and big resources. They went to the court instead and got an injunction against that Board of Health in Pittsfield. Now, that emergency order is available at Massachusetts for Safe Technology, MA, the number 4, safetech.org. And if you go to our state efforts page, you will find that Board of Health declaration. It's an excellent document to take to your own Board of Health to say, look, this is what's happening. The industry is forcing this toxic technology in. Pittsfield did its job, and they even documented that this so-called expert, Dr. Swanson, that the industry parades around, is no expert. He's never published one paper on biological effects of radio frequency. He is a PhD, but his specialty is in physics. He deals with quarks and other properties of physics, but he has no expertise. And this is what the industry does with their intimidation to make it look like they've got somebody who knows what he's doing. So that is there. And now this has gone to a civil suit out in Pittsfield. And thank you so much to the attorney team at Children's Health Defense, which is helping to try and bring these neighbors back home because they've had to abandon their homes because the radiation was so bad. And the Massachusetts Board of Health Association, the MAHB, they actually sent in an amicus brief in support of the Board of Health and the citizens because they too know that these cell towers and smart meters as well should never be close to our residential areas or other sensitive areas like schools and our places of worship and our playing fields, our recreation areas. Our medical facilities should not be inundated with microwave radiation. So thanks for letting me share that. Were you able to find that Mass General Law reference number?
It's Mass General Laws, Chapter 164, Section 124A. And that's the one that you would cite to the Board of Health if you have a physical illness or hygiene needs or something that needs electrical appliances, and that means they can't shut you off because of that. Okay. And I'm not playing it out where I'm not paying my bill. I pay my bill under duress. Mm-hmm. I always write under duress, and I pay my bill. And the thing is I'm waiting for Michael Moore's bill to be accomplished, because of the telecommunication departments. It seems to not want to let it pass. But the fact of the matter is that we're looking for property rights or meter rights and customer rights as to that. Right. And that particular law also brings up the municipality. It covers the municipality situation, which is, it's rights for us. And I was waiting for that to pass, and I'm watching it constantly, and I'm hoping to go up and testify about what's going on with me, because, what they did to me is totally wrong. They forced me into every which way, and we were always a step back. And, that's all right, because when we get into court, we made the point that we objected, and every step of the way, and we've basically collected all the data, and we don't have a lawyer. I look at laws myself. I understand where it's going to go in the end, and if I have to bring the case myself, which I may have to, I will. And that's what we've been doing, and we'll continue.
Well, Steve, we are so grateful that you are blazing a trail on this, and that you have enough experience to be able to know where to look, because most of us simply don't even know that much. I would also suggest that you reach out to the Attorney General's office in Worcester. That's where the Central Division is. They are now reviewing 2 town meeting warrant articles that passed out in Great Barrington and in Sheffield that would put a pause on any further wireless build out in those 2 towns until the FCC responds to the court order to bring public radiation exposure limits in line with the science. It's not an unreasonable thing to ask for. If the FCC's already been sued and lost, we need somebody to protect us. And if the federal isn't going to do it, we need to encourage the state. And if the state's not going to do it, then we, the people, need to do it at the local level. So I dropped off a lot of materials, including the groundbreaking report out of New Hampshire, the first government in the country to investigate, and they document the harm and the conflicts of interest with our federal agencies in the wireless industry. So lots of really good efforts taking place, but there's no cavalry coming. We have got to take these measures and find our courage. People can come learn with us through Massachusetts for Safe Technology, register on our events page, and we will teach you the facts and give you the information that we need in our town. So, Steve, again, thank you so much for all your hard work and your indomitable spirit and your willingness not to walk away from this, because you know this is wrong. All right.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing. When it first came in, as to the pollinators, okay, because I live right next to a pond, and we had no bees, and I had a garden, and I had no fruit, and that happened. The bees, however, are coming back, and I don't know if they're immune or what, but that is happening.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that in favor of them, because I basically want to tell you that, I should have a right to put what meter I want, as long as it gives them the reading that they want, that's not intrusive.
Right.
And that's exactly what this is. And it shouldn't cost me anything more than anybody else.
Right. And Vermont already has a no-fee opt-out, but this has become a political issue, and we need our public servants to learn and to remember that they represent the citizens, not these big companies. So, Stephen, thank you so much for your time. We're out of time here, and we welcome everybody to join us at Massachusetts for Safe Technology, and we wish you all a tech-safe day. Thank you.